All right, so let's sit with some of the quieter layers of Genesis 28. Those undercurrents that get passed over, but have deep theological weight. The journey into exile. Now, Jacob's departure as a pattern of displacement. Jacob's departure from Beersheba to Haran marks the beginning of what scholars like Walter Brueggemann call narrative of exile. He's not just traveling, he's been sent away, cut off from his mother, his homeland, and the safety of inheritance. This is the same man who just seized a blessing, and yet, ironically, he's walking into an uncertain, empty future. This pattern of being cast out or sent away shows up repeatedly in Scripture. Adam and Eve from Eden, Joseph into Egypt, Moses into Midian, David into hiding, even Jesus retreating into the wilderness. In each case, God doesn't remove the discomfort. He meets people in it. That's what Bethel represents. The idea that exile becomes the place where God reclaims the person's heart. What about us? Are we willing to recognize that some of our most spiritually formative moments happen when we're out of control, disoriented, and alone? And number two, the theology of place. Bethel as a sacred geography. Now let's talk about sacred space. In Jacob's time, worship wasn't confined to temples yet, but places mattered. Mountains, stones, altars. What's surprising here is that Bethel isn't introduced as holy ground. It becomes holy because God showed up there. This reverses a lot of ancient Near Eastern thought, where the gods lived in fixed shrines or high places. But in this story, God consecrates the ordinary, a rock, a patch of ground, a fleeing young man. The takeaway, God's presence redefines the space. So what does it mean for us today to say, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it? How often do we realize after the fact that God was working in a situation that didn't feel spiritual at all? Now let's revisit Jacob's vow. He says, if God will be with me, then the Lord shall be my God. At first glance, this feels like conditional faith, a deal with God. But remember, Jacob has never had a personal encounter with God before. This is the first step. Gerard von Rad and other scholars point out that this moment marks the beginning of Jacob's journey towards covenant maturity. This vow isn't perfect, it's not polished, but it's real. God doesn't demand perfect theology before extending grace. This reminds us the journey of faith often starts with tentative, uncertain steps. God meets us where we're at, not where we pretend to be. The image of the ladder, more than a visual vision, the ladder or sulam is fascinating, not just visually, but theologically. In John 1:51, Jesus references this moment. You will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. He's connecting himself to Jacob's ladder. That means Jesus is the ladder. He is the connection point between heaven and earth, the one through whom heaven's activity, whom heaven's activity comes and goes. The salam becomes a prophetic symbol of Christ, long before Jacob could grasp it. This shows us something beautiful. Old Testament images carried forward into the New Testament story, not as a random callbacks, but as a part of a larger redemptive architecture. Jacob dreamed of a connection to heaven. We see its fulfillment in Jesus. Now, a God who speaks, not just shows. One final reflection here. God doesn't just appear. He speaks, and his speech isn't reprimand or warning. It's promise, comfort, assurance. I am with you. I will not leave you. In many mythologies of Jacob's time, gods appeared in dreams to threaten or demand. But here, the God of Israel shows up to affirm identity and purpose. This shows us the heart of biblical revelation. God initiates, God reassures, God repeats his promises, even to those who haven't earned them. Now for our closing thought, Genesis 28 gives us a picture of a God who meets us in transition, in fear, in unfamiliar territory. He doesn't wait for us to clean ourselves up. He meets us in the middle of our mess and says, I will not leave you. So here's the real question. What place in your life do you need to rename? Bethel, a place you saw as pain or exile, but now realize that where God was doing something sacred, because that's where transformation begins. So I'm glad that everybody stayed with me here today. If you have any other comments or any other insights, please drop them in the comments below, and then stay tuned for tomorrow's next chapter for our chapter review and our deep dive and the continuing discussion.